It's about that time, baby, baby. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
This Sinclair show is on. Running with your friends, come on.
Come on, come on.
It's another show tonight. No bag is tight. Sinclair on the mic.
Once again, it's fun. You still go. Your passion tripping, don't know right over wrong. Send your letters to the show so we can talk through. Get the answer to your questions because we speak that truth. So now you doubt yourself, lost your health. Faith is on the fence, but you believe that Jesus knows your wealth. Keep it moving, spirit flowing, because we're here to provide someone to lean on when you're falling. Wednesday, 8 and 9, and it's on. Once again, it's on. You're listening to the only morning show when people at night. That's right. It is the Sinclair Show coming to you live and direct. And tonight, as it says in the theme song, it is on. We're going to talk about some good things, and I hope that all of you all who are on point, on time, and joining in will get a little bit of knowledge out of whatever we talk about tonight. You know, sometimes you can get to talking about a good subject matter and people are getting their tiny little feelings. All right. But I want to assure you all that the whole purpose of tonight's show is to help each of us gain a little bit of, as you all like to say, a little bit of knowledge and put us on the right track in terms of what and how we interact with everybody, if you will. But first, let me just cover the bases. I want to thank all of you all who continue to send your mailbag questions, comments, thoughts, and whatever it is on your mind to Sinclair Talk at Outlook.com. Going to continue to express and talk about these things each night. We're on the air to reach you because you all are the valued listener. And what does that mean? That means there would be no reason for there to be a me if it wasn't a you. And that's how we get down. All right. So look here, people. It's a lot of stuff going on out here in the world. And so before we jump knee deep into tonight's comments, let's first begin by saying this. Listen, I don't know if y'all know it or not, but it's a lot of people checking out. It's a lot of good people that are going through some things. And this is the time of in life where we ought to be looking at something greater than the senselessness that we experience all the time. And so I'm putting that in your minds because I want there to be this thing as we move forward that I leave you all with a few nuggets here and there. Again, just to keep your mind rolling, because so often we as people in general get caught up in the tomfoolery of whatever's going on around us, and we lose sight of the fact that it's real people out here dealing with real issues. And some of them are on edge. I can tell you, I was doing some things last evening, had an opportunity to go and talk with some good people. And while I was having a conversation, I heard within a earshot, as old people might say, a bunch of gunfire, to the point that one of the people I was talking to hit the ground and the other one, he was looking a little scary, so he was up against the wall. Me, I think there's something to say about when you done been through certain things in your life. You probably should flinch, but you don't. But it did bring to mind the times and space that we live in. And a lot of times we'll gravitate to a mindset of, oh, you know, people out here tripping. It's not just that. I want to reinforce, you don't never know what somebody's going through, and it could be the person that you're talking to. So be mindful of how you push that energy. I did my very best. Today is the last day of the for those of you who don't know, it probably ain't many because we've talked about it quite a bit. This month and today, I'm in the last few hours, if you will, of my April long challenge that I was on in terms of what I was going to do. This month I did a 16-hour fast every day. It was like from 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. I couldn't eat nothing. And that, I'll tell you, it ain't the easiest thing. Because them little TV hours be having you wanting to contribute to the snack economy. But anyway, made it through that. For all y'all that know me, y'all know I love lemon cake and gummies and couldn't have none of that for a whole month. So that was different, but I proved that I could. And I was telling somebody today, if you will, excuse me, that how you know when you have a level of dedication to something that you have set out to do is because I got this big jar, this little airtight container that's filled with gummies, and not one time did I open it up. So that's like a real G for me because I love me some gummies. I didn't have no lemon cake. All right, so we back up in here. I'm gonna have to get some backup around here. But anyway, so what up, Jay Dizzle? First person on tonight was Gwendolyn Lady Elegance, and there go Jay Dizzle. So if y'all still out there in listening land, I don't even know how I had a little technical difficulty, but we're gonna get to the bottom of it, aka handle our business. But I'm saying all this because I want you guys to process that. I think I had showed you all that them steps. So if y'all could see this, let me see if I can get it in closer. I don't know. Y'all see that right there? That say I walked 115.63 miles this month for the month of April. So y'all know this is that's how I got down for real. So don't let that fool you. So anyway, so I did all of those things this month. It was a good month. And you learn some things about yourself. Hold on, let me plug in this so we don't be missing each other tonight. I bet y'all say this dude just doing all kind of regular stuff up here tonight. which I am, what I'm doing is I'm hooking up a MiFi just in case we have some more complications, if you will, that we'll be able to still play ball together. But anyway, so I just want to make sure that y'all understand that there are times when you got to challenge yourself. And when you challenge yourself, there are some good things that can happen, but you must be committed. Many of you were out here and you was on the hunt and prowl, so to speak, with old Sinclair. And so I appreciate those of you who got your numbers. I think Johnny was one of them ones. April, matter of fact, she sent some clips and videos when she was out there getting it in as well. So all this being said, so we can move on to today's show, is that find you something that you're working toward. Find you something that's a goal of yours. Set something so you can focus on something other than the foolishness that is normally in your life and see how that work out for you. All right. It worked out for me. I've already set my this month's goals and I can go ahead and share them with you, if you will. My this month's goals for May is I'm gonna continue to do the 15-hour fast, 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. No eating. I'm gonna walk 110 miles this month. Last month's goal was 100. I'm gonna try to stay within my spending budget. Hey, matter of fact, that was another thing that I did. I could not do any excess shopping last month. I think sometimes I'd be having like a little shopping problem or whatever, but it's all good. I'm not gonna drink any soda this month, so this is a soda-free month. Last month I couldn't have any lemon. I couldn't have no cake at all, and I couldn't have no gummies. And again, those of y'all that know me know I'd be down with all that, but I didn't have it all month. And so this month I'm not gonna have any sodas. I'm gonna walk 110 miles, do the fasting, stay within my budget, and I'm gonna read 5 books in the Bible this month. So that's my goal for the month. Y'all pick whatever you want to sacrifice, whatever. And let me say this to you before I move forward. Sometimes when we start thinking about sacrifices and fasting, if you will, I don't care if you don't choose to do yours from a spiritual perspective. Let me say what you can do. If you don't want to think about it from the spiritual perspective, and that's your right, challenge yourself to see what can you sustain that makes you different than what you were last month or the previous month. So you don't have to say, oh, I'm doing it as a level of fast. You can say I'm fasting. You can say I'm challenging myself, and surround yourself with people that want you to get your goal. I have to say that I have some remarkable people in my circle of friends and circles of acquaintances and circle of family, because those people who knew that I was on this journey, they was riding with me. Okay. There was a couple of times I tried to get weak on it. And people who knew that I was on this was like, hey, dog, you ain't supposed to have that. Want to send a shout out to my homeboy, Deli Delmas Willis. He was right in the hunt with me. Matter of fact, he got his 100 miles in. I think he wound up with like 109 miles. All of that being said, find you a goal that is a focus goal that requires you to be better than the person that you are today. I don't care how small you move the needle. Some of you have so much time on your hands that's why so much drama and foolishness stays in your life, because you got that kind of space where you're not challenging yourself to be better. And that's part of what we're going to talk about tonight, as a matter of fact, which is very, very simple. As the headline has said, we are doing relationship realities. All right. And when we talk about this relationship realities thing, I want y'all to understand this is not about gender, because that's so often what we roll with. but gender may come into play in some of the answers. So, Jay Dizzle, April, Gwendolyn, everybody else is on. Y'all ready? Let's go. So, we're going to talk about real talk relationship realities, where we're going to unpack the everyday moments that make or break our connections. Okay. Now, I'm Sinclair, your host, and today we're going to be diving into the heart of relationships. And it's funny because when I first started this show, maybe it may have been now 8 years ago, maybe a little less. The show initially wasn't called a Sinclair Show. It was called Relationship Matters with Sinclair. So we come in full circle tonight. But anyway, it's not just, we're going to talk about communication, but not just any communication. We're going to deep dive into the differences between how we speak, how we listen, and what it means to truly show up for your partners or people that's in your life. All right. So if you're jotting down something, keep this in mind. We're talking about conversations versus conflict, talking to someone versus talking at someone, listening to somebody versus hearing somebody, and the difference between a spouse and a partner, and what the words really mean. All right. There go my mama, y'all. Hey, mama, what's going on, mama? All right. So let's start it off with segment 1, and that's a conversation versus conflict. And let's start with what sounds simple but isn't. Conversation versus conflict. One can build a bridge, the other can burn it down. But here's the twist. Sometimes they sound exactly the same. Now, I want y'all to think about this. A couple arguing over dishes, just regular dishes that you eat out of. On the surface, it's about the chores, but underneath, it's about feeling unappreciated. All right. A conversation is an exchange. Conflict is a power struggle. Understand what I just told you? Conversation is supposed to be an exchange of ideas and information. But a conflict is a power struggle between two people. And why do we confuse them? Because of emotions. Emotions escalate the tone, and defensiveness replaces the curiosity. See, some of y'all ain't even going to be down with this. Some of y'all ain't going to get it. But I'm going to walk y'all through this tonight. All right. You want to have a conversation with somebody, anybody. It can be personal. It could be work related. It could be spiritual. It could be whatever you want it to be, right? When you start having a conversation, you have to ask yourself and be honest with yourself from the onset of that verbal or mental interaction with somebody. What's your real goal? Some people say, oh, I was just trying to talk to them. No, you weren't. Okay. Instead of why didn't you do this? You could say, can we talk about what happened and how we both felt? Okay. I want you to think about this. If I'm trying to have dialogue with you, and if I intend, there go Lacey Greer. What's going on, girl? Glad to see you on the show tonight. I ain't give April her shout out, but I want to pop them up on the screen. Jay Dizzle, everybody that's up here. All right, think about it now. Most people think that they are good conversationalists. Most of you think that when you are communicating, that you're the most effective person in that process. But when you started off, did you want to prove your point, or did you want somebody to understand you? Or were you trying to win a position with whoever was in front of you or on the phone with you or on the other side of the dialogue? And again, we're not even going to put it on gender. It's a question because there are good women that have great conversation. There are good men that have great conversation. And then there's bad on both sides. But you've got to ask yourself, is your goal most of the time to win? Now, if I was to ask y'all an honest question, man, my mama gave me this little fan. I done turned this thing on. All right. If I was to ask you a question right now, in your opinion, would you say that women or men are best in conversation? I'll give y'all a few seconds. Anybody? Who do you think is better in a conversation and in the communication aspect? Is it women or men? And you're going to be surprised by the statistical data that is pulled up. How many of y'all think it's women? How many of y'all think women are better communicators than men? Check in with me. And if you believe that men are better communicators, then check in and say that as well. All right. While I'm waiting for y'all to check in, Jay Dizzle said men are. That's my dog. All right. I want y'all to. All right. So Heather Dickens Tuck. Okay. She said it's tough. Why is it tough, Heather? And I want y'all to keep in mind this is not about us going to war with each other right now. I'm asking you these questions because we want to leave the show tonight better than what we came. And so when we're talking about communication, remember, I've already shared with you that communication, there's a couple of aspects of it. Lacey said, part of me wants to say women, but I know some men who are great communicators. All right. See, this type of dialogue with each other forces everybody to think. Because most of the time, I'm going to be fair with you. If I had to guess before I did some due diligence to find out the answer, I would have said women. But statistically speaking, women are more open to having conversation, but they are less effective communicators. That's just what the statistics show. And I'm going to tell you why, so that y'all ain't got to get in your feelings. It is for the last word I just said, feelings. Most of the time, studies show that men are looking for solutions and they want to deal with facts. Women want to deal with emotions, which statistically mean that you are most of the time attempting to win the conversation. Heather said you can talk, but really don't say anything at all. So communication is poor, and sometimes people communicate nonverbal and really say a lot. Well, listen to Heather really putting the information out there. I agree with you. Think about it, women. And again, this isn't me coming down on women. This is what statistics show. It shows that women are often emotionally charged internally and want to be heard. When you want to be heard to the point where you are forcing conversation or communication, you are generally not leading with the points of factual information. You are generally leading in a conversation because you want to win the verbal tussle that you're forcing someone to have. You want to feel like, oh, I'm going to say it. He or she is going to get it, and they're going to make the determination that I was right. But that's not the most effective part of communication. If I want you to understand me, I've got to be able to have dialogue without emotion. Most of the time, people will try to sway you with their body language, with their tonage, with their tears, with their facial expression that tries to make you think that they are sincere, when the anecdotal information tells us most of that is a ploy to get you to acquiesce whatever they think or feel. And I'm not saying, so before all of the people with the pitchforks come out, I am not saying that makes you bad or good. I'm not judging right or wrong. Right now, we're only talking about factual information. And the factual information says, women, most of the time when you sit down with a man, that man is solely focused on tell me the facts, tell me the problem, tell me what you need. Let me find a solution so we can move on from whatever this conversation or dialogue is. Women, on the other hand, it is stated in factual information from studies that, generally speaking, you not only want a person to understand the reality as you perceive it, you want that person to feel what you feel. And so sometimes, not all, you will go to extremes, whether it is the volume, whether it is the animation of how you are talking and acting, whatever you feel like it takes to make him understand or her understand. And some of you are no better, whether you at work and it's professional, or whether you're at home and it's personal, or you're out with your friends. Some of you got some friends right now that do not, whenever something comes up, they'll be like, you know what, that's just how that person is. All right? Think about it. Now, if you're in a conversation, but the other person is performing a monologue, they're talking at you. See, right now we're getting ready to talk about talking to someone versus talking at them. All right? So, you've been there, you've been in a conversation, the other person is animated. They're showing you as much as they're physically showing you as much as they are speaking the words. They just talking at you. And it don't even feel like to you or that person that you really matter. They want you to get it. All right. Lacey said, I majored in communication, and as a woman, I know we are emotional beings, but I'm always trying to improve my skills. Communication is so important to me when it comes to being in a relationship. Listen to Lacey just making everything better for us. And Lacey, as a counselor for the better part of the last 20 years, let me tell you what I find to be a win in this dialogue that you just said. You said, I'm always trying to improve. And whether you are male or female, the goal should be, let me become better. Because better will generally lead you to becoming more effective. And so let's go back. Talking to someone involves eye contact, pauses, and checking for understanding. I should have bought me some water. All right, listen, let me ask y'all a question. How often does somebody talk to you and you just feel like, let me shut up and let them finish so they can get up out my face? And through the entire time that the person is talking to you, they never ask you, do you understand? Now, and I'm going to tell you, the one thing I despise about relationships is there is an expectation that I say what's on my mind, and many times people will not listen to you while you talk, but most of us talk with run-on sentences. Now, some of y'all saying, well, Sinclair, what does that mean? If you're having a conversation, that means you make a statement, you give the person a chance to respond. Don't give somebody 40 minutes of you talking. They got to either take notes or try to remember as best as possible all of the stuff that you were emotional about And then after 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you ask them, do you understand what I'm saying? No. No, I don't. I don't understand what you were saying because you would not shut up long enough. You wouldn't pace yourself when you are writing something. You have commas and periods to indicate what you're talking about, where you're talking about it, and that it is a sentence. You need to learn that in order to talk to someone, you have to have some commas and some periods in the way you speak. Don't ask somebody a question. Well, where were you at 12 o'clock? Because I know you was probably hanging out with such and such. Why ask a question if you're not going to give the person allegedly in this dialogue with you a chance to respond? So often when you are emotional, you don't care about the response because you believe you already know the answer. And that goes to the talking to versus talking at someone. If you set out in the middle of a conversation to prove an aha moment, I know what you're doing. I know what you did. I've caught you in this. And I'm having the first part of this conversation because I wanted the crescendo of me being able to prove to you that you're a scoundrel or that you did something that I dislike or that you didn't follow my block of instructions. I don't care whether you're talking to your kids, whether you're talking to your significant other, whether you're talking to your spouse, whether you're talking to your coworkers. You could have saved that whole conversation. First of all, if you're not dealing with kids, you can't make a grown person have any kind of conversation with you. And second of all, if you already know the answer, why are you asking the question? That goes back to the first thing we were talking about is in communication. Are you trying to really communicate or are you trying to win a situation? I know what you was doing. Okay. So we don't need to talk about it then. I just want you to tell me why. And then the conversation goes on for 40 minutes. No, you don't. You want to be able to register in your emotional bank that you boxed a person in a corner. Uh-oh. Esther Shepherd, what's going on? Glad to see you. You want to box people in the corner with your dialogue. Keeping in mind, they don't have to respond. That's the piece we miss out on. And so often we miss out on it because people will engage us. People will engage us. They will humor us, if you will, and allow us to say something, and they will play along for a second, but at a certain point, they'll stop. All right? So if you keep talking and talking, it's going to feel like, as some people might say on Sunday morning, thank you, Robin Williams. Glad to see you on the show. It will go from you talking to you talking at. It'll start feeling like somebody is venting or dominating or preaching. And why it happens? Because generally there's some stress or there's some frustration or there's some ego involved. What's going on, Annie Moore? Glad to see you this evening. So, how to shift it? Try asking the person, can I share something? And hear your take on it. Think about what I just said and how significant that becomes. If you're really trying to communicate with somebody, ask the person, get their defenses down. Stop trying to win something and start trying to have meaningful dialogue. And what that looks like is when you get ready to tell a person something or you want to get into some information, whatever that information is, make sure they understand that that's your goal by asking them, inviting them. Hey, can I share something with you? But I also want to get your take on it too. All right? Two different things. Role play. Act out a short scripted difference between adding two. All right? Let me tell you what that means, ladies, and this is going to be a little difficult. Sometimes, if you want the person in front of you, be they your significant other, your spouse, your boyfriend, whoever it is to you, your kids, your coworkers, if you want them to get what you are saying, if you want someone to receive the information, if you want them to process it, stop making it about how you feel. Now, I know I get accused all the time of people saying, hey, you know, Sinclair, he's anti this and anti that. I'm really not. I have emotions and feelings just like everybody else. I just don't find that in my life, whether it is what I do professionally, what I do spiritually, what I do as a counselor, I don't find that I am able to be impactful to somebody if I am leading with emotion. Because most of the time, you've only got a finite amount of time to interact with a person before you lose their attention. All right? The other part we got to talk about, we've talked about the communication piece. We've talked about, are you talking to or are you talking at someone? Now let's talk about these things right here, your ears, and what they were intended for. Are you listening, but are you hearing? There's a big difference, okay? Because there's a difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is physical. Listening is emotional and mental. That's probably too deep for some of y'all. But I'm going to say it again. Listening and hearing are not the same thing. Hearing is physical. Listening is emotional and mental. The definition of hearing is sound detection. Listening is equal to intention and interpretation. See, y'all ain't rocking with me tonight, and I understand, because most of y'all like it when I'm up here with the hurrah, hurrah, and we battling back and forth. Tonight, it's about energy. James, what's going on, big guy? Glad to see you. So again, right now we're in part 3 of this conversation, which is, are you listening or are you hearing when somebody's talking to you? This is important because as I was trying to explain to you about the talking to versus talking at, one of them puts you in a position where you're still trying to win. The other one puts you in a position where you're trying to be heard for the purposes of some type of resolution of the emotion. So when you say the definition, hearing is equal to sound detection, but listening is equal to your intention and interpretation of what you heard in those sounds. Some of the common traps is listening to respond and not listening to understand. I'm going to ask this question and I want y'all to be honest. How many of you, when someone is talking to you, are you already, as they speak, processing your rebuttal? I'll wait. And I want you to be honest. And it's not a right or wrong thing. Again, tonight we learning together. Tonight I'm trying to help you all get to the next space and be able to communicate more effectively. So the question is, generally speaking, how many of you are when someone is talking to you, are you in your mind playing out what they've said and you're waiting for your opportunity to shoot back at them? Jay Dizzle, look at Mr. Honesty himself. He said, I've done it in the past. I have too, Jay Dizzle, so you ain't on the boat by yourself. And in this case, men, while we may have won the Best Communicator Award, we really are more often than not guilty of this. Also, people with high intelligence or high IQ, look at Honest Annie saying that she's done that too. Thank you, Annie. People with high intellect and high personal IQ. And I'm not talking about do you have a plaque on the wall, because that has nothing to do with this. Because there are people who do not have a certain level of academic achievement that are extremely intelligent and thoughtful. All right. James said, those know me, know I have. Thank you, James. Everybody has. And so if you're listening and you're waiting to respond, then you're not hearing a person. You're processing at the same time, but you're not processing with the intent to understand. You are processing with the intent to respond, and in many cases, validate or prove that person has some points or aspects that they may not be accurate in. All right. Most of the time, what real listening looks like, and this will help y'all when you're having dialogue with somebody, optically, when a person is listening to you, really listening, there's some unintended body language. They'll nod when you say something right. They may fold their arms, or their face may become wrinkled when you have some statements that are factually incorrect and they know that they're incorrect. And most of the time, when you are dealing with critical thinkers, they will pause you in the midst of something and attempt to correct the statement that is not 100% accurate. Now, the challenge for listeners is, let's try this. When next time you are in front of your partner, your spouse, your friends or somebody, try this with them. Tell me what you need most from me right now. Just say that statement to them. Tell me what you need from me most right now. Write that down. And when you do that, here's what the real challenge is. I want you to listen without interrupting them. Now, I mean up here too. Not just with these. I want you to ask your partner, your significant other, your best friend, or your parents, or anybody. Tell me what you need from me most right now. And I want you to not say anything until they finish. And I want you to see if you are capable of processing differently when you try to have an open mind. Often before I get ready to speak to people, I will pray briefly, and I'll ask God, hey, if it is your will, will you clear the hearts and minds of those who are in front of me? Because generally speaking, if you can get a person, a human being, to go to zero balance, that means they're not thinking about all of the things that make no sense. Matter of fact, let me ask you this, and this is going to be funny. For those of you who may have been to church in the last 6 months, some of y'all ain't been in the last 6 years, and I ain't judging. That's between you and God. But for those of you who have been to church in the last whatever time, or let's say you even watched it on TV, I'm gonna give y'all, and again, this ain't a judging thing. I'm using this as an example. How many times have you begin listening or looking, or even if you're watching on TV, and as the person who is either preaching or leading some aspect of the program, when they begin to talk or as they're doing anything, you are looking at that person, at what they wearing, how their hair is cut. You are picking out some things that are of interest to you. Or let's say if you at church and you watching the ushers as they walk past, or you are distracted by the person who may be dressed a certain way, your mind is not focused. And when your mind is not focused, there is no way you are hearing with the intent on receiving some information when you are distracted. And I'm being honest. And some of you may find it difficult to be honest because you think that it means that somebody's judging you. I'm not judging you tonight. I don't care if it was whether you went to church, whether you went to a play, whether or not you went to a concert. I know people that pay good money and go to concerts, and when they leave the concert, they are not talking about the success of the entertainer, whether it is a comedian or a singer or a rapper. They will tell you everything they noticed about what that person wore, or the people in the crowd was doing, or somebody was drinking, or somebody was getting high as a kite, or somebody came to church and they had on a tight dress, or somebody came in, they was looking a hot mess. You went there, or let me not assume. The question becomes, did you go there with the purpose of getting something out of it? Are you that easily distracted? Or is it that you are never really listening to process information? You just like being in the midst of some foolishness. You are comfortable wherever you go, and that the real show, the real concert, the real entertainment is your ability to watch people walk around, or to judge the person that's talking, or judge the person that's singing, or judge the person that's preaching, or judge the person that's at your job and they're doing XYZ. You're not trying to get anything really out of it. That's what you really wanted. Talia Matthews, what's going on? Glad to see you. And if that's the case, you're not listening for the purpose of understanding, which means you're really not hearing them. You are processing in order to get more information for a different purpose. If you're in a relationship, or have a significant other, or have a friend, or have somebody that you are engaging with, if when they talk, you lost out in the middle of everything else about them, good or bad, you are an ineffective communicator. Why is that, Sinclair? Let me tell you. Women and men do the same exact things. Oh, we like to say it like it's one gender or the next, but it's not. Let me tell you why. Good examples. I am often in environments where, let's say when I am in certain environments, because of what I do professionally, what I do from a professional spiritual perspective, and what I do in my personal life, I am often in a position to be in leading of something, or a center of focus, if you will. A lot of times, if as a vice president, when I am in a room and I am having dialogue, and it does not matter where the other people are in their careers. A lot of times, if I'm in a room or in a meeting and I am talking about something, I am generally there's going to be some people that are probably listening. But there are also people, or if I'm at church and I'm speaking and I'm teaching and I'm doing whatever, it's probably some people that are listening. But there are equally some people who gonna be just sitting around talking about, look at what he got on. Look at what he said. I have walked past people and I don't want you all to think it's always something sinister, because it's not. And it's not always something that is negatively intended. What do I mean? Ladies, this one's on y'all. Sometimes you wear some things that block a man from hearing you with any level of depth, because he's looking at what you got on. I ain't judging. I'm not telling you what to do with your wardrobe. I'm just telling you that there are often times when a man doesn't care what you're saying because you wore some type of outfit that was so physically distracting to him, and it could be in a good way. I ain't judging, but he couldn't hear you. Or you wore a perfume that it was something about the pheromones in that perfume in your skin, and you could be talking about a million things. He don't care nothing about that. And you all are getting mad and be like, you don't ever listen to me. Or here's something a little bit less, but same instance. Let's say your significant other, you get ready to go to bed. That person been working all day. You've been working all day. Get in the bedroom. He or you turn on the TV. Something's on that has one of y'all attention, his or yours. And all of a sudden you start wanting to have dialogue. He is not listening to you. Not because he's mad at you. Not because you're doing something wrong. He's distracted. And even if you say, oh, let me pause this right quick, doesn't matter. You have distracted him now because he's frustrated, because he saw something on the screen that he's interested in, and now you are the block to him being able to view it. Okay? Same thing. Back when I was married, let me tell y'all something that I used to despise. Well, first of all, I'm not the type of person, I don't have a problem with going somewhere. I don't have a problem going out to eat. I don't have a problem doing it. I despise if I am going out to eat, we going to grab something to eat. I despise when someone picks up their phone and wants to take pictures or wants to text and let the world know I'm eating at this place. Me and Sinclair's, we're out here. And women, a lot of times you all will be in your feelings. Well, why you don't want nobody to know you out with me? I'm not on a date with the world. I just want to go be normal for 5 minutes. I don't want everybody to know. If I go to the movies, I don't want you posting up that we at the movies. All you doing is really signaling to a potential killer or robber, either we're not home, and or if you want to come kill us, here's where we at. Because some of you all become distractions to the moment. Unintentionally. You having the most fun of your life, but your significant other, the man in your life, the woman in your life who may feel the same way, you all are absolutely livid because you're like, I feel like a animal at the zoo. You can't do anything. Your communication is not with me. I am an actor in the play of your life. You're really interested in the communication you're having on social media or otherwise. So I'm saying this to you so that you can understand why you get some responses or the lack thereof in different situations, because when you are communicating with someone, it must be a place of balance. All right. Let's talk about, before this little hour ends, spouse versus partner. Most of you, would you say that your spouse and your partner is the same thing? Yes or no? I'll wait. Anyone? Well, while y'all are considering whether or not you want to respond, a spouse and a partner may or may not be the same thing. The words carry weight. One can feel more traditional, the other chosen, but the real power is in how you define them in your relationship. A spouse is often associated with roles, legal titles, and expectations. A partner suggests equality, teamwork, and intentionality. Let me say that again, because that's probably deep for some of y'all. A spouse in America is normally associated with your legal connection, meaning you done been to the courthouse, you done signed some paperwork or something, and those expectations of that title, not the position. See, you can have a title and not be in position. If you have a partner in America, that suggests a partner has a level of equality in that relationship, teamwork, and intentionality. Historical baggage affects what the words mean today. All right, I'm going to say it. I know I'm going to get to the pitchforks. Women, most of you want the title of spouse. You want the title of spouse because it gives you legal ties and you can set expectations within the relationship. Most men, quite honestly, are looking for a partner. They want someone where there is emotional equality, somebody who's on the team, somebody who has intentionality. And so a man or a professional woman will generally prefer to be a partner than a spouse, because a partner, you think about it, when each one of you grew up, when you think about the things that you did that were successful, if you played on a basketball, football, baseball, softball team, you was on that team. It was some equality. All us got to play our part in order for us to excel. Great job. Okay? You need that teamwork. You are taught teamwork from the time that you're small. You go in the military, you go to basic training, you're taught teamwork. Intentionality. When you have a partner, you're holding each other equally responsible for the success or the failure of the relationship. Not as a spouse. Most of y'all want the spouse because it means that he's probably or she's probably not going to walk away from you as fast. It means that you are emotionally and legally guaranteed that somebody's going to help you fiscally in your life point. Well, let me say this to you. If you are dealing with a real person, whether you went to the courthouse, got married at church or otherwise, if you treat a person with respect in the relationship, you're going to get all of those things that you seek. If you're on good terms in a relationship, that person ain't gonna let you be down, male or female. If you are working and striving toward the same goal, a person is not gonna come up and see you left behind. the equality of a relationship is important both for men and women, because nobody wants to be somewhere where they feel like, oh, I got the upper hand. How do I know? Historically speaking, women are the most influential beings in any home. However she acts, the rest of the house is going to, like, I believe we operate at different vibrational levels. How do I know this is true? Think about this. If you were to say to somebody, the man is the head of the household, 75% of the women, even if they don't utter a word, feel some kind of way. Even if they don't say it, in their minds, they think, well, if he the head of the household, he need to be doing everything, X, Y, Z, whatever, whatever. But you can go to a job where a person has no ties to you mentally or physically, and they can tell you and say stuff to you all day long, and you're not going to say anything because you've accepted a partnership role in the organization. You have a task, they have a task, and you're okay with your supervisor, your boss, your director, your leader, your vice president, your president, your CEO, whatever the title of the people above you, you're okay with them giving you directions. You're not okay with a hierarchical structure in the home. That's why you want to be a spouse, because the law gives you some entitlements. In a partnership, you have to earn your keep. Earning is not financial. It can be a contributing factor, but in a partnership, a person can leave your angry self that day. Okay? What did Taya say? You're not in a partnership at your job. You are a subordinate. Taya, I can tell you it's been a long time since you've worked, because let me tell you, as a person who has nearly 150 employees, every individual at a job is in a partnership. And from a hierarchical structure, there is levels to it. But if you walk away from that job for a momentary period of time, you shift the dynamic of success of that operation. Sure, we can go hire somebody else. You are a partner. We sign an agreement when you come on board that says you're going to do this level of work. You're going to be this piece in the wheel that turns. And for that work that you do, we're going to compensate you financially. Now, you think it means you're a subordinate. I don't find subordinate meaning anything negative, but I understand hierarchy. If I'm a vice president, that means there is a president, and it doesn't matter the gender, that person is in a position of authority above me, and they also have a different level of responsibility. Why would I be mad if you say I am the subordinate to an individual? That's when we talked about earlier that men look at things from a critical standpoint, a definition standpoint, a factual standpoint. Women often look at things from an emotional standpoint. So it is not uncommon that you would look at it and say the word subordinate as if it's a negative thing. It's not. It ain't negative if you go get your check. It's only negative when you think about the fact that you or somebody doesn't like the fact that somebody on a structure can tell you what to do. But you get home and you will raise hell all day and rebuke and back down and challenge everything that the person who you are in a partnership or relationship says. But you have an understanding when you go out there that it can't be but one CEO, can't be but one president, can't be but one leader. That the buck has to stop somewhere. That's why partnerships work better than spouse. And I know what y'all thinking. That's just a man saying that because it benefits men. Do you really think that a man, most men, if they find a woman whom they can have dialogue with in a peaceful manner, who puts him first, who considers his needs, who understands that some days when he gets off work, not that I ain't got to bombard you with foolishness and try to force you into XYZ the moment you get, if he finds that woman, he takes care of that woman. He'll fight about that woman. He'll go to war about that woman. She ain't got to ask for nothing because he is willing to work 2 or 3 jobs to make sure she's good. The problem is if you look in the mirror and ask yourself, what type of person are you? Are you a partner type person or are you a spouse type person? They're not the same. If you're a partner, you want to make whoever is on your teams, you want to make their workload lighter. You want to make their job easier. You want to make sure we're not walking off the field unless we walking off the field together. When you are in a spouse mode, the courts have determined that there is a system of you are responsible for this and you are responsible for that. A good man and a good woman, you don't have to tell them what their responsibility is because you have made me feel a certain way and I want to make sure you good. I know that's deep. We over our time, but I want you to understand the depth of what I'm saying. Most of you want to be spouses because there is a level of legal security in it. But you don't have to get legal security to get security. All you got to do is stop being your regular self and ask yourself, what does me being in a relationship and I am willing to be a partner? So what? Listen, the hardest thing for us to admit most of the time is that we're not the subject matter experts on everything. But don't get it wrong. There is normally one person in the relationship is normally, from a technical standpoint, smarter than the other. Now, it won't be on every issue, but if you hate the thought of anybody being smarter than you, you're going to have a problem. When somebody says to you, and I've even heard my mom say this to me before. I've heard people say, oh, you think you right about everything. You want me to tell you what the problem with that is? Some of you never do your due diligence on anything. You speak 100% from emotion. If you are dealing with someone who's a critical thinker who doesn't want to be wrong, they gonna go do their research. So most of the time when you're in a conversation with them, they probably are right because they put the work in. You put the emotion in. Ty said spouse was chosen because of religious beliefs. Maybe not. I think it's far simpler than that. I don't think it has a lot to do with religious beliefs because most of y'all ain't that religious. Most of you all ain't that spiritual. Most of you like what comes with the legal title and entitlement. Ask yourself, why do some people date forever? And when they date forever, boy, it seems like they've been together for years. And in some cases, it's successful. Some it ain't. And I don't want y'all to think for 1 minute that I'm anti-marriage, because I'm not. I think marriage is a beautiful thing. I think most of the time people aren't ready for marriage because they're not ready for the partnership of marriage. They ready for the spouse title that comes with it. Because when you are partners, we ride or die. See, partnership don't have anything to do with gender or a sexual relationship. If you got somebody that's your friend, you say that's my partner right there. And if you talk about your relationship with your partner, your homie, you go to, hey, that's ride or die. How many of y'all got at least one partner out there? Some of y'all can have more than one. Most of the time when y'all hear me on the show, y'all be like, where Jay Dizzle at? That's my homie, that's my brother, that's my partner, whatever. You know why you hear me say that? Ride or die. That means if Johnny got something going on, if it's bothering him, at some point it's going to be bothering me. That means that me and Johnny have the type of interaction with each other where he can tell me something, and if I think that he's wrong, I know how to communicate with him. I ain't going at him in no abrasive way. I would be like, hey, yo, Jay, love you to death, but let me shoot you this concept. So you have respect for each other as partners. Most of you, when you get to the spouse role, you've lost the respect because you're in the entitlement phase. Well, you should do this. You ain't got to tell. In fact, I'll give you an example. Me and Jay Dizzle, a lot of times, probably monthly, sometimes we miss it. He might shoot it down and come down the way, and we'll say, hey, we're going to do this when we come down. We're going to go fishing. We're going to go grab something to eat, whatever, right? Boys' Day, Men's Day. And when we go out, let me tell you what happens. You got a almost brawl between the two of us on who going to pay for the meal. We fighting. Hey, man, I got this. No, I got this. No, I got this. And what happens is when you in a partnership, when you cool with somebody, when you down with somebody, regardless if you in a relationship with that person as friends or that's your person, when you are partner with somebody, there's never a sense of, I want to get over. When you are in a spouse relationship, often we find statistically that there's a sense of, I want to get over on the very partner, the very person I got legal ties and expectations to. But you don't have to tell somebody how to treat their homie. You ain't got to tell nobody how to treat their real partner, their real ride or die. It's instinctive because you on the same team. You ain't gonna ever see a partner say, I'm gonna win while you losing. It ain't gonna happen. Because when we cool, when we down, when we partners, I got your best interest, you got mine. We can walk with ain't no light in the woods because we side by side, we back to back. If something coming to the front, you got them. Something coming from the back, I got them. Ain't no problem. We watching each other's back. We making sure, hey, we do business together. The business gonna grow. If we make money, I ain't got to worry about if you trying to undercut me. If we gonna buy something in the same, that's partnership. Most of you can't experience a partnership because you're so busy wanting to be a spouse, and the spouse puts you in a different frame of mind. Now, can a person be your spouse and be your partner? Absolutely. There is no better marriage or relationship than when you can find somebody that you can be you, they could be them. Everything's on the table. That's my person. That's my partner. Everything good. But most of you will never reach that because your communication, which is where we started, is about positioning. Most of you have a partner relationship with your homegirls, with your homeboys. You'll break your neck for them, but raise hell at the house. Some of you right now drive all the way over town to make sure if your homegirl or your homeboy or your friends or your acquaintances say, hey, what y'all want for lunch? Hey, man, I want some chicken. I want this, and that. You'll go to 5 places. But let your significant other, your spouse at the house, ask you to do something, and you'll complain. I'm tired. I don't feel like stopping. But you drove to 5 different places for your homies. That's why a lot of times men are naturally attracted to partnerships, and women are generally attracted to the security that comes with the legal ties of being married and expectation. Because a lot of times when people get married, they feel like, look, what's yours is mine, half and half. When you partners with somebody and you don't have those legal ties, then that means, excuse me, that's just like being in a relationship with Jesus. That's a free will choice. When you pick a partner, that's a free will choice. I choose for you to be my homie. I choose for you to be in my life. I choose to be in whatever type of relationship. So it's equal. It's 50-50. You can walk if you want to walk. You can stay if you want to stay. We can build if we want to build, or we ain't got to do nothing. You choose that. But you choose it for the right reason. Because why? When somebody's your homie, when somebody's your partner, you gravitate to them because you got something in common. You ain't got everything in common. I'll tell y'all, Jay Dizzle is like Switzerland. That Negro is always looking for the best in everybody, the best in the situation. Hey, but did you ever think about this? He's built for balance. Me, I ain't always built for balance. So sometimes when I got something in my life, I got to go to see Switzerland. If I'm dealing with somebody in my life, I got to go talk to Switzerland, because sometimes I know I'm all about, I'm willing to go to war to get peace. Jay Dizzle is like NATO. If anybody ever got something y'all got on your mind and you can't think of it, oh, y'all ought to hit that dude up. That dude is NATO all the time. He's going to give you every option, even when you don't want to hear it. He's the type of dude, when you talking to him, you just be like, all right, man, you know what? You might be right. Because he got a way of having dialogue with you that's going to make you feel some kind of way about your anxious and angry and emotional decision. And so, look, people, we 17 minutes over. We can pick this up next week. But I just want you all to understand the goal for tonight. And I hope that this helps you all in your personal walk, in your personal relationships. I want all of you to consider, how can I, even if I'm a spouse to somebody, how can I become their partner? I want you to be able to look in the mirror and ask yourself, when I'm communicating, am I listening? Am I hearing? Am I talking to? Am I talking at? And why am I positioning myself in this way? What do I hope to gain? Am I trying to win, or am I trying to be successful? And those things are not always the same. As somebody once told me, you can be right, but not righteous.
It's about that time.
Good night, everybody. It's time to go.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.